Kenya, and outside Nairobi feel very much at home away from our homes. To the young people, I say welcome to the 7th East African Community Youth Leadership Summit. You will recall, ladies and gentlemen, that this beautiful capital of Kenya was chosen by popular vote by the youth of Africa to host this year's summit. The Youth Leadership Program states, but through Pan-African reach. This is testament to the fact that the YouLead Summit program has grown and become a platform that the youth of this great continent feel proud to be associated with. They look forward to meaningful and deliberations on their roles in driving the East African Community's Vision 2050 and the African Union's able leadership of the youth leadership. When I was growing up, I personally benefited from the mentorship by the senior leaders of our country. At a very tender age, I was working around the big men. Why they chose me, I don't know. Since then, I've been closely following the work of the YouLead Secretariat under the leadership of the Eastern Community. Who is reading the Secretariat? Stand up. This. It is these beautiful young ladies who have made it happen. Give them another round of applause. Business, peace and security, and gender relations. So if you young people, at your age, before assuming higher positions of leadership, the minister here is a young man. How old are you? Yeah? He's 47. He's still very young. Kwa lugha ya Kiswahili kule kwetu tunasema bado anadai. He has already arrived there. But I became minister at the age of 38. I was younger than you when I first became minister in 1988. But the point you are saying here is governance. Governance is one of our major deficits. And if young people at your age can grasp what is it that constitutes governance, democratic governance, fighting vices in society and in offices of power, if you guys can't grasp what is supposed to be done, you'll make your voice heard by those in power who are not governing by the rules. So, Professor Maloka, thank you so much for your contribution. As he rightly said, there is a memorandum of understanding that was signed between APRM Secretariat and the YouLead Africa Secretariat for the purposes of advancing, of inculcating in the young people the ethos of governance. In the same vein, I've been following with appreciation the tripartite collaboration between the YouLead Africa, the Office of the African Union Youth Envoy, and the Plan International in co-delivering the Lead Her Fellowship, which aims to address young women between the age of 18 and 25 from Eastern and Southern Africa to ensure their engagement and participation in the fields of politics, business, peace, and security. Plan Africa, you here? And oh yeah, sure. And it is good, it's Plan Africa and very African. But we thank you. We have to empower and mentor women in leadership. One of the things that we are doing in my foundation is mentoring women, young women, for leadership. We are trying. I think probably in the next 1 year, we may be able to come up with the first cohort of young women that we have successfully mentored and ready to take up positions of leadership in the country. But it's something very important for us to do, and we have to continue to do it. Excellencies, in 2021, we implored the possibility of creating a meaningful opportunity of apprenticeship as part of youth leadership development. This idea has given birth to the East African Community Youth Fellowship. And on that note, Honorable Peter Mathuki and I are impressed by the work of the YouLead Secretariat and the East African Community Youth Leadership Steering Committee. Are there members of the Youth Leadership Steering Committee here of the EAC? Stand up. Stand up to be counted so that we know we have the good people who are doing a lot of work behind the scenes. If we don't mention them and if we don't recognize them, people may think that things happen on their own, but they're not happening on their own. There are people who are putting their brains and energies to develop those things. Please sit down. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. We applaud you for conceptualizing, developing, and implementing the notable fellowship that capacitates youth of the East African Community region for greater participation in public service, in politics, and business. We believe this will assist in further strengthening regional integration. Well, it would be remiss of me if I did not acknowledge and commend the Julius Nyerere Leadership Center. Are there representatives here? The Emerging Leaders Foundation, wote mpo safi, and the Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete Foundation. He's one of the young men we have just taken out. He's finished university and he's working in our foundation. We are doing mentorship. It's a bright young guy. The Americans say bright young dude. We wish you luck. I'll always be there. But we thank them for working closely with the East African Community Secretariat and the YouLead Secretariat to make this initiative a reality. I appreciate the engagement and participation of the first cohort of the East African Community Youth Fellowship. There's going to be some ceremony after my speech. I thank the Danida Fellowship Center. Danida, nyinyi watu wazuri sana bwana. You're good people. You're God sent. And the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation. Is it the Balozi again? Yeah? Stand up. We thank you all for technical and financial support that you have rendered, which has acted a catalyzer for the success of this wonderful initiative. In this regard, I would like to express gratitude to His Excellency Didier Chassot, Ambassador of Finland, Ambassador of Switzerland to Tanzania and the East African community, and Madam Ulla Tawia, Director of the Danida Fellowship Center, for supporting us in piloting this great initiative. The initiative has proven to have successful outcomes on the youth and regional agenda at large. Excellencies, today we are glad to have the first cohort, the first group of fellowships graduating. They will later be placed in various East Africa community institutions and partner states for practical work experience. This is the understanding. After you guys graduate, we'll talk to all the institutions in the East African community, member states, to take you as interns. To continue to mentor you and sharpen your skills so that you can become more productive citizens of the East African community countries. Those of you who choose to work in my foundation, welcome. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that by investing in knowledge, Africa's young people will be able to marshal their individual and collective efforts towards a common development agenda. Their enhanced understanding of the roles, of their specific roles as young people, will hasten the crafting and delivery of Africa-led solutions towards the Africa we want. And Professor Maloka has underlined this clearly. It is no mystery that the African continent has a valuable untapped potential in its young people. Africa is the continent with the world's youngest population, and it is imperative we tap into their power to lead us towards the Africa we want. Professor Maloka has said, by 2050, Africa will have a population of 2.4 billion. 1.2 billion of these will be young people. How many years to 2050? Those who of you passed mathematics, I didn't. Huh? 27 years. Who is 27 amongst you here? Yeah, there are so many of you. So about your age, that's when we'll be 1.4. So if we have 1.2 or 1.4 million Africans, young people, young Africans, who don't have the skills, who don't have the experience, who don't have the knowledge and the competence to be productive citizens in their respective countries, what becomes of our continent? I was talking to I was invited one time to the OECD, and the discussion was about migration. I told you, look here, you guys. You are spending a lot of money on erecting walls, restrictions, new legislations. These people will not pass through immigration points. These people don't have passports. They will simply be swarming your continent. And the estimate is, by 2050, there will be 400 million young people seeking greener pastures in Europe. So the best thing is to help the African countries, the pasture on the African countries also, to be green. But if you people think the pasture on the African side is going to continue to be brown, and the pasture in Europe is going to be green, there is no way these young people will choose to die. They will try to swim across the Mediterranean into Europe. This is a planet for us all to live. If you can use a bad word, we are all condemned to live together on this planet. Professor talked about some people trying to live in the moon, and it can't be Africans. It can't be Africans. So, already, many jobs are being lost to automation. And artificial intelligence, which is the new kid in the block, is rendering so many people out of jobs. The drivers will lose jobs because now when you need a taxi, you just call. After a few minutes, the taxi will be on your door steps. You open the door, get into the taxi. The driver is not there. The taxi knows where to take you. You reach the point, you come out, you go your own ways. Drivers are losing jobs. Many people, even secretaries are losing jobs. Accountants are losing jobs to automation. So, it is. So, the only safe thing, those who will have an opportunity, 2050 and beyond, are those who have the highest levels of skills needed by the job market. So that's why investing in the skills and knowledge of young people is not a pastime. It's not something for leisure. It is something that we must do everything we can to get there. Ladies and gentlemen, to attain and create opportunities, to capacitate young people with knowledge and skills, everyone who wishes to invest in the future of this continent must invest and create a conducive environment for young people's participation in both formal and informal educational opportunities, training and capacity building spaces. To all of you who have joined us in this summit, I urge you to partner with the East African community, the MSTCDC, and the YouLead Secretariat so that we can co-create the future of Africa together. I thank all partners who have already supported us in this journey and have assisted in successful delivery of this annual convening of the YouLead Summit. Your Excellencies, I wish to thank once again, once more, for sparing this time amidst your very busy schedule to come and join our young men and women in this summit. I'm certain that the young people joining us here in Nairobi and those joining us virtually, because the last time in Arusha we were about the same number joining us physically, but over 20,000 joined virtually. I don't know how many will do so this year. You can see how popular this initiative is. But I look forward to having very successful conversations and deliberations towards the achievement of the Africa we want. As patron, I look forward with a great anticipation to the outcomes of this summit. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your kind attention.
Yeah, so thank you, sir. We receive your words of counsel. Now, the EAC fellows, quickly for your entertainment, then the secretariat for the award of certificates because of time.
The EAC fellows, in the spirit of solidarity, Your Excellency, have decided that they're going to do it jointly. They're going to use music, arts, to spread the African solidarity, the Pan-African spirit, and they have taught the entire auditorium the dance moves, and in the spirit of full disclosure, our patron also knows some of the moves. Actually, he's one of the pioneers of this song, and therefore I'm going to hand over the mic to our chief choreographer to invite us all to stand.
Thank you, Franklin. Please, everyone, what you've been doing before was practice for this session. So let's stand up. We are going to show off some moves to our excellencies, who are also invited to join in. We understand that you're still youthful as well at heart. So please join us in this dance.
In the faculty too, you also, the victims of this, you're invited to join us, the faculty. Oh, and you can see our patron is always ready. He's ready. So DJ, over to you.
Young men and women, with the pillars, with the future, here we are, let's join together, with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our need, to call for unity. Africa, hear me cry, never leave me alone, as I see light in a brighter future, let's join hands for youth and women.
So you lead,
I lead, we live together, so you lead, I lead, we live together.
Yes.
We believe.
Yes. The high table. Give a shout to the high table. We live together. So you live, I live, we live together. With you live, let your dream be our reality. With you live, let your dream be our reality. Okay, thank you. Let's give a hand to the high table. Yeah, DJ. Cut it. Thank you. What do you say to the high table? They did their best, right? You saw them, eh? Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. Over to the fellows.
EAC Youth Fellows, can we just give a yeah to the high table? Yeah. Everyone, can we give a yeah to the YouLead Secretariat? Yeah.
Thank you, fellows. Please stand by the side over there as we wait for the ceremony. As you move, please let's appreciate our high table for dancing with us. Wape snap. Wape snap, fellows. Wape clap. Wape stamp. I have been advised that His Excellency has requested that we do the graduation exercise down here. I don't know if you want to come down now. Okay. Yes. Do I have DRC over here? Excellent. I hope we are standing in the order of our countries that have given us. Please hurry up, my people. We are short of time. Because the certificates are not here, I'm just going to call out their names, and then they shall come to the front, be congratulated, and take a picture, and then you will receive your certificates later, if that is okay. We are going to start with the group from Burundi. The first to approach the high table is Iranke Jeffreakur from Burundi. I hope I've pronounced your name right. Iranke Jeffreakur. Help me appreciate him. Proceed. Go. Mpe snap, mpe clap, mpe stamp. Mpe snap tena, mpe clap, mpe stamp. As he is leaving, I'm going to invite the second person from Burundi, Orlando. Orlando, mpe snap, mpe clap, mpe stamp. Be generous, you're also going to be walking to the front shortly, so you better be nice. As she comes back, Frank Nimubona from Burundi. Frank Nimubona from Burundi. Please follow my instructions. You first greet the president, then you proceed. President, the minister, then you proceed. The next one is Eliseus. Eliseus from Burundi. Overruled by the patron. Thank you, Your Excellency. As he takes his picture, Liz Karukumutima Esther. Well done. As she takes a picture, we are now welcoming DRC, and the first on the queue is my class representative from DRC, Marcus Chihoho Olivier Luabagabo. As he's taking his picture, I'm also going to invite another person from DRC with a very complicated name, Muganuzi Mshongole Adonis. As you can see, DRC does not play with their suits. Laissez-faire. As he's taking his picture, I shall show you that they don't play with their suits. The next one is Chiruza Biraheza. Onesfo. Chiruza Biraheka Onesfo. As he takes his picture, we are moving to Rwanda. And now we are going to invite Chelsea Inyumba Baguma, who's also a deputy ESC youth ambassador. As she takes her picture, I'm going to invite the next one, Diane Regine, who also happens to be a football coach. Diane Regine Wamahoro. As she takes her picture, I'm going to invite the next person from Rwanda, who is Sarah Mutagoma, who's also a current ESC Youth Ambassador. Sarah? Rwanda is finished. As she takes her picture, we are going to invite Uganda next. And the first person we have is Edgar Mtunjisa, a sitting ESC Youth Ambassador. That man is a stubborn politician. As he takes his picture, we are going to invite another from Uganda, Her Excellency Princess Inshuti Nobata, who's the Deputy ESC Youth Ambassador for Uganda. And as she takes her picture, I'm going to invite the next person from Uganda. Your Excellency, you'll be pleased to know that this is a young farmer. She calls herself the slave farmer, Brenda Asasira. As she gets her photo moment, I'm going to invite the next Ugandan. They say once an ambassador, always an ambassador. I'm going to invite a former ambassador for Uganda, Mercy Awino, the former ESC youth ambassador. She says she's also the next president. As she takes a picture, I'm now going to invite the Republic of South Sudan. And to start us off is Tabu Grace. For all the ladies in the panel, if you need outfits, that's your plug. Well done, Tabu. And as she takes her picture, I'm now going to invite a gentleman who's traveled from a village deep in South Sudan, Johnson Poru Hillary. Your Excellency, this man has been in so much trouble with the state, but he means well. And as he takes his picture, I am going to invite politician extraordinaire from South Sudan, David Bitia Jr. That is a dangerous politician. Very progressive. As he takes his picture, I am going to invite a powerful businessman from South Sudan by the name Amule Dario. That man is one to watch, a millionaire coming soon in dollars. As he takes his picture, I announce the entry of the people of the Republic of Kenya, and the first on the floor is an extraordinary civil servant, Enoch Sangaka Mongare. Coming all the way from Lodwar. He had to take a bus to get anywhere near an airport. As he takes his picture, we have another one from Kenya coming all the way from Kisumu. We have Lilian Magero. This is the Queen of Sports from Kisumu. As she takes her picture, I'm going to invite another Excellency, the ambassador for the East Africa Community Youth Ambassador for Kenya, Beatrice Gitau. Sorry, Esther Gitau. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Your Excellency. As she takes her picture, Your Excellency, I want to announce the entry of Tanzania. United Republic of Tanzania was represented by powerful politicians, starting with Dorcas Francis. This lady is going far. Your Excellency, as she takes her picture, I need to take a short break even as I prepare to announce the next person. Because, Your Excellency, you have been accused of being the father of this gentleman. That he looks so much like you, Godfrey Tyro from Tanzania. They refuse to call him by his name, they've been calling him your name. He is an amazing writer, He has documented the fellowship throughout. Next is another politician, Madam Faith Mwaipopo, very active politician. And as she takes her picture, I'm going to invite another Excellency. This happens to be the organizing secretary for the East Africa Youth Ambassadors Platform in Tanzania, Julius Emmanuel Muhindi. Your Excellency, this man also happens to be a medical doctor who almost missed graduating because he once escaped the fellowship classes. What you do under the rooftop shall be announced on the rooftops. As he takes his picture, I'm going to announce the final fellow. The shyest person in the class. We have to force her to speak. Marie. Please help encourage her. You know she needs the support. As she takes her picture, Your Excellency, I have tried to make sure that the entire faculty was here, but we could not have all of them. The ones that we have here were the ones who were responsible for teaching the Youth Enterprise Bootcamp, Youth Inclusion in Social Economic Development and Policy Making. They shall just quickly come to the floor and take a picture with you so that you can get a sample of them. Faculty, if you don't rush, my guests will leave. Faculty, if you do not rush, my guests will leave.
Your Excellency, may I now take the opportunity to invite the headmaster, Stella Angara, as part of the call.
And finally, I'm going to invite Sodfa Daji. Sodfa Daji, please take the floor. Sodfa Daji, the director YouLead. Sodfa, you have been summoned by your patron. Sodfa Daji. Okay, we'll do it later. Thank you very much. A group photo. Okay, please, fellows, please hurry up and slowly. Slowly, my people, we discuss this. Slowly. Do not block the guests. As they leave, there's one more request for the steering committee to join and take a picture with the guests. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete Foundation representatives, please take the floor. Julius Nyerere Leadership Center, Dr. Susie, please take the floor. Emerging Leaders Foundation, Karen Wakoli, I know you're in the room, please take the floor. And McKenna is present. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. The fellows, you can go back to your seats. Thank you for cooperating. I'll hand over back to Mr. Chege Mwaura.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause to our guests? And can we appreciate our graduates this afternoon? Thank you very much. We are now coming to the apex, like I said, and following the guidance given by our patron. With humility, let me ask our chief guest as we start to receive him to take the podium and address us. Tusimame tumkaribishe. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Tuketi tafadhali. Shukran. Vijana wa Afrika Mashariki hoye. Hebu tusalimiane hewani. Shukran, nashukuru sana. Now, Your Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania and patron of YouLead, great young people of East Africa, our partners, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure really this afternoon to deliver the following remarks on behalf of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. And he addresses you as follows. I am delighted to really be a part of this youth summit of young leaders from East Africa and other parts of our continent of Africa, gathering here to discuss the place of young people in shaping the future of the East African community and our world. I warmly welcome you to Nairobi, Kenya, and indeed to the East African community. I commend the leadership of His Excellency Jakaya Kikwete, the patron and co-convener of this summit with the Secretary General of the East African community, for making it possible to host this important Youth Leadership Summit here in Nairobi. The overarching principle and target here really is that the East African community must embrace youth as champions of African solutions to African problems. Our youth must be champions of East African and indeed African integration. Our youth must be the champions of climate change adaptation. Our youth must be the champions of peace and security in our region. Our youth must be the champions of innovative job creation. Our youth must be the champions of accountable, values-driven governance. I have no doubt that you're more than up to this task, kwa sababu uwezo munao, sababu munazo, azma vile vile munayo. Haya twende sasa. Indeed, the United Nations and the World Bank statistics show that Africa has the youngest population in the world, with 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30. We are staring at a youth bulge that we must comprehensively address by looking and exploring solutions and proposals of youth, by youth, and for youth. Such a high number of young people is an opportunity for the continent's growth, but only if these new generations are fully empowered to realize their immense potential. It is crucial that young people are included in decision making and are given appropriate opportunities to work and to innovate. Going by the statistics, having a young population brings with it many opportunities for economic growth and innovation, if these opportunities can be recognized and utilized. We must position East Africa to benefit from this demographic dividend. We must invest in youth education, skills, and health to transform East Africa. The current demographic history of our region requires strong country and whole of ESC commitment to the development of human capital to help the region leapfrog the challenges that we are confronted with today. I'm aware that young people gathering here today are champions in various fields: business, politics, peace building, and many others. That means young people are highly skilled, they're motivated, they're innovative, they're ready to drive Africa's renaissance, and they're worthy of investment and enabling policy environment to invigorate their inventiveness. This has been the commitment of the East African community and its partner states since its onset, capitalizing on the potential of the youth of the region to achieve the greater EAC vision by 2050 and the Africa we want 2063 aspirations. The expanding geopolitical and socioeconomic construction of the East Africa community, with the coming on board of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2022 and the potential joining of the Federal Republic of Somalia, brings with it the need to unlock strategic incentives for diplomatic and interstate relations, consolidate enterprise scaling, and efficient productivity that the youth will tap into the increased intra-regional trade. The ESC will greatly rely on the young business entrepreneurs and political leaders to enhance the security, economic, and governance architecture of the large market potential of the expanded East African community. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, Nairobi will play host to the Kenya Innovation Week Commonwealth Edition from the 27th of November to 1st December to showcase some of the innovations from young people from around the Commonwealth, all the 56 member countries, and indeed the globe. Let me take this opportunity to invite you all to this event and share opportunities that impact young people and their communities. Indeed, for a long time now, the young people of East Africa and the whole of Africa have advocated for a collapse of the border, which should be reinforced by reduced cost of communication and traveling within the region. This will definitely be the game changer in increasing intra-EAC trade and driving the region towards industrialization. Kenya is also set to host the 6th edition of the Youth Connect Africa Summit 2023 here in Nairobi. From the 8th to the 12th of December. The theme of this particular summit is Youth Innovating a Borderless African Renaissance. This summit will bring together 20,000 young people, government officials, business leaders, and other stakeholders from across the length and breadth of the African continent and beyond to discuss and explore issues related to youth development and identify custom-made solutions that can be implemented to improve the lives of young people in the whole of Africa. The ESC is accordingly presented with a mega opportunity here for its vibrant youth, and I take this opportunity once again to extend to you an invitation to not only be a part of this, but indeed to join Kenya in playing host to the rest of the African continent. And still at this continental level, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA, provides an exciting point of takeoff for our continent's trade and entrepreneurship. The benefits of African Continental Free Trade Area can only be achieved by the free movement of goods and people, which comprise of individuals that are free-thinking, innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial, young men and women, grappling to deepen intracontinental and cross-continental trade and commerce. The member states of the African Union will need to work harder and expedite the implementation of visa-free movement across our borders, a common travel document passport. We commend efforts put in place to make the AfCFTA promise a reality for African youth and women. Note to reiterate the rationale for the negotiation and prospective adoption of the AfCFTA protocol on women and youth. Kenya reinforces calls to accord young people the opportunity to take leadership and encourage a notion of identity that seeks to lift others as a priority in the current global ecosystem. Sustaining the commitment to capacity building for the young population, warranting the African Union Agenda 2023, the UN SDGs, regional and national development plans, all these must be turned into reality for our young people. The intention of the government of Kenya, as are the intentions of other African governments, I believe, is to show up the spirit of solidarity, to support our youth and their priorities, and reinforce their underlying agenda. Development must happen for our young people. And this investment will drive green growth, reduce unemployment, and propel youth skilling and capacity building for the Africa we want. The government of Kenya, and indeed the East African community, is working towards creating the space and opportunities for sustainable development of youth leadership in all spheres. Here in Kenya, we have consolidated all youth-centric planning and execution under one important ministry, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy, and Sports, deliberately giving emphasis to the emergent new force in economic development, the creative economy. Like the youth of Kenya, I urge all the youth of East Africa to make sure you are not left behind as we shape the future of the East African Political Federation. You, young people, are the leaders of the envisioned Federation of East African countries. Let me conclude by applauding and congratulating the first cohort of 28 youth who graduate today from the East African Community Leadership Fellowship. Hongera. With these remarks, I wish to declare the East African Youth Leadership Summit 2023 officially on and wish you all the best in your deliberations to conclusion. Asanteni sana. Those are the remarks of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic, who wishes you well and remains a great champion of the youth, not just the youth of Kenya, but the youth of East Africa and the youth of the whole of the African continent. And I'll use this opportunity to add a couple of remarks from myself, kwa sababu mimi pia niko hapa, na siko hapa tu kama sinema. Sasa nimewasilisha ujumbe wa boss wangu, sasa mimi pia niseme machache. And just a couple of things, great youth of East Africa, from myself. One, I want to urge you not to underestimate the power of every little step you make. Never underestimate the power of a single step. Perhaps the monumental significance of that statement can be drawn from an incident that happens on July 20, 1969, when astronaut Neil Armstrong, commander of the Apollo 11 lunar module, steps on the surface of the moon for the first time. First time a human being steps on the surface of the moon, and famously utters these timeless words. And I quote him, "That is one small step for man, but one giant leap for mankind." Every little step you make may seem inconsequential in that moment for you, but the sum total of all the steps we make is an avalanche of effort that makes a difference. Number two, please never stop. Never stop. Never stop in whatever you're doing, in the efforts you're making. Keep moving. And the best example of never stopping is this great role model, the patron of YouLead, His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. I mean, what hasn't this great son of Africa not achieved? What? What hasn't he achieved? Some of you are dreaming now to be presidents. He's been president. Some of you are dreaming to be ministers. He's been minister as a youth. Been there, seen it all, done it all. But he's here right now, mentoring, encouraging, pushing you on. You have to keep moving. And as we say, even if you're on the right track, you'll be run over if you just sit there. Keep in motion. And finally, I want to urge you, great youth of East Africa, don't accept to be held back by stereotypes and cliches. And you encounter them every day. They sound like this. Oh, you're too young. But you're too inexperienced. You barely have an experience. But you're just starting. But you're too small. You know, as they say, what matters in a dogfight is never the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog in that fight. Don't accept to be told, don't accept for anybody to put you down on account of age, on account of experience. We all start somewhere. And I like reminding the youth of Africa that the first generation of African leaders, the first independence generation of this continent, was exceedingly youthful. How old was Nelson Mandela when he joined the struggle in South Africa? Go find out. How old were people like my third president, His Excellency the late Mwai Kibaki? I had the privilege of serving first as a cabinet minister in his administration. By the way, Your Excellency, I was 35. When Kibaki appointed me minister in his administration, I was just exiting the youth stage. Do you know how old Kibaki was when our founding president, Jomo Kenyatta, appointed him Minister for Finance? He was in his 20s. And when you look at that, Kenya's first post-independence cabinet, Mwai Kibaki, Dr. Kiano Gikonyi, they're all in their 20s. Youthful-looking people. Today, you are told you're in your 30s. You're in your late 20s, someone is telling you're too young. Tell them, come on. So please don't be put down by any cliches. Don't be put down by stereotypes. If you are good enough, you are old enough. God bless you.
So we can do a standing ovation for our guests. Thank you so much as we appreciate him. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. So we can have our seats. We can have our seats.
Hello. It would be remiss of me as a minister who is also responsible for sports not to announce here that the East African Pamoja bid of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania will be hosting the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027. And we are very proud. We have pushed this as joint ministers in Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Kampala. And we are asking the youth of East Africa to be the true hosts of the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027. Asante. Now His Excellency says, you play host and make sure that that trophy does not leave the borders of East Africa.
Thank you so much. We take the challenge. Our chief guest and our patron, Daktari, Professor, our ambassador, we are very honored to have had you with us this afternoon. Indeed, your presence has made a difference in our engagement this afternoon. And therefore, on behalf of everyone else, I want to say, may the Lord bless you, and thank you so much. Our cohort, first cohort, I want to say, let the memory of what has happened here this afternoon go beyond the Bomas of Kenya. Be the ambassadors of YouLead and indeed the EAC integration process. We look up to you, and you can count on our support. I will ask that we arise for the anthems, and then after the anthems, we'll allow our high table to walk, and then the rest of us will walk after them. So the anthems like we did as we began.
being reminded kindly, just a few housekeeping issues. We have the final program. We are taking a 10-minute break as the dignitaries take a tour of the Bomas of Kenya, and then we will come back here for a very interactive session. It's called the fireside chat, okay? So they'll set it up here, then we will have Q&A, just to sit down with our patron, and then we can be able to ask questions as part of the closing program, okay? So it will not take more than 45 minutes. So you can stretch, and then when you hear the cue, kindly let's come back and finish for 45 minutes. Thank you. Feel free to take a break.
Luis Aquino on trumpet.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's... Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are kindly being requested to come in and then sit on these two sides, okay? Because of the setting, let's kindly use the 2 quarters, okay? Just for engagement's sake. This side. Let's kindly come everyone, let's walk in. Let's walk in. Thank you for making your way back. Thank you. Let's sit at the center rows, the 2 center rows. Let's fill in the 2 center rows for the fireside chat, and then we end the program for day 1. Thank you. Thank you so much for... Let's create way. Let's move kindly. Kindly give way. Thank you. We thank you for agreeing to move. Let's concentrate on these 2 quarters. This way. This side. Thank you. Okay, we are waiting for the delegates kindly. Kindly let's make our way. And it's funny how everyone is seated on the edges. Like we're ready to move.
We are giving it back to VIZ for supporting this initiative. Please stand up on your feet and give a rousing appreciation. Please do that.
So thank you so much, and also to the entire management. Pass our appreciation.
Document that is required.
So in the case
Yes,
where
but where you are non-compliant,
Yes.
where you are, I've said where you are compliant,
Yes.
that process must be completed within the service level, the time agreed on by that department.
We're going to hear from your representative, who will also give us a few remarks in less than 5 minutes. And then, once he's done, we'll see your performance. So get ready, embrace yourself, whether you're going to start from there.
By giving it back to GIZ for supporting this initiative. Please stand up on your feet and give a rousing appreciation to GIZ. Please do that.
So thank you so much, and also to the entire management. Pass our appreciation.
Document that is required.
So in the case
Yes,
where
but where you are non-compliant,
Yes.
where you are, I've said where you are compliant,
Yes.
that process must be completed within the service level, the time agreed on by that department.
We're going to hear from your representative, who will also give us a few remarks in less than 5 minutes. And then, once he's done, we'll see your performance. So get ready, embrace yourself, whether you're going to start from there and come through. Let us know how much space you want.
One young Africa, we say yes to one Africa market. Thank you.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check. Check. Check, check.
A good evening to all of us, and welcome once again. Most of you have been waiting for this conversation, especially because you said you had a lot of questions you wanted to ask His Excellency. Before we allow you to ask any questions, we are going to let him tell his story so that you don't ask too many questions. And then if there's anything left over, you will ask them the questions in an orderly manner, okay? When the time comes, I'm going to allow all of us to, a few of us to get the microphone. You ask your questions. Keep it short, succinct, so that you can actually get an answer to your question. Try as much as possible to keep to the topics that His Excellency is going to address. Is that okay? Do you promise to be faithful to that plan? Excellent. Then we are going to have an amazing fireside chat. This is a tradition during the YouLead Summit. We normally have a fireside chat with our patron and also the former president of Tanzania, His Excellency Dr. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. And we have another opportunity to have this conversation with him today to hear about his journey and just to understand what do you need to do, who do you need to be, what kind of attitude do you need to carry around to become the kind of person he has become in his life today. I know many of you admire him, some of you call him your role model. How do you become this person? To start us off, Your Excellency, maybe you'll just start by responding to the question on how you will describe your leadership journey so far.
Well, let me say good evening. Yeah, I want to say two things first. Is that yesterday I met President Ruto. He sincerely apologizes for not being here in person. He had really wished. But of course, because these dates are decided long before, but he had to go to Germany yesterday. They have a meeting today. He couldn't have stayed, and that's why. I also talked about the fireside chat. He said he was so excited with the idea. He also apologizes, but he said if he comes back on time and his program would allow, besides my fireside chat here, you may have a better one with him. It's not a promise, it's just a wish that he would really love to chat with you. But of course, we call this a fireside chat because in Arusha at the Center for Development Cooperation, Training Center for Development Cooperation, we light a fire in the middle, and then we have a chat. Just like we do it typical in the villages. The grandfather is there besides a fire chat, and the grandchildren sit around the fire chatting. So that's why we call it a fireside chat. You know, because of the rains here, we would have sat in one of the huts there, but we can't light a fire here. There is going to be a fire, and we'll have to call in the fire extinguishers to extinguish the fire. So that's it. Well, my leadership journey, it all depends upon where you start. Because I was born on October 7th, 1950. It's a long time. I'm the sixth born in a family of 9. But my mother was the 4th wife. So if this old man took the culture of marrying only one wife, I may not be there. So you can see what it means really when you get old. You only marry one wife. if my father married only one wife. You would have had a former president, but it may not have been me from my mother. Okay, that's it. So I was a big family there. There were 9 of us. 9 of us who survived. So let me tell you the culture. I think with his first wife, my father had only one son. And with his second wife, my father had 2 children, a boy and a girl. With the third wife, unfortunately, they couldn't get children. The fourth wife, my mother, and then there were 5 of us, but only 3 survived. And then with the fifth wife, he had 3, only 1 survived. But this is an interesting part of story that I want to tell you, where cultures differ. 2 of them were born twins. But in our traditions then, very, very cruel traditions, when a mother gets twins, they kill all of them. They would kill twins. They would kill children born with deformities. They would kill children born with albinism. That's why in my tribe, people of my age, there isn't anybody who is an albino, because he or she was killed just at birth. In Kiswahili, we have the terminology of kulwa na doto. When they say kulwa na doto, it means the twins. The firstborn is kulwa, and the secondborn is doto. In our tribe, people of my age, there is no kulwa na doto. So it is that cruel. The old traditions. Of course, the theory is the mother cannot take care of twins. So the best thing is, and you cannot choose to want to kill, just kill them all, kill all of them. It's a terrible bad tradition. Yeah. Then of course, after that, the other wife had two children, a boy and a girl. So that gave us 9. Of course, the 9 of us survived. I think our elder brother, born in 1933 or 32, died in 1990, and the second brother, born in 1936, died at the age of 80, and the sister, who is our elder sister, she's still there. She's 84 now. 5. Kwa mzee sana. So 9 of us, of the 9 of us who survived, 4 are not with us. They've gone to the other world. So there are 5 of us remaining. Well, in that family, I'm the only one who had the opportunity of going up to university. So you can see those are some of those realities. You people these days, you can have everybody in the family university graduates. I was the only one. The family. So I had my primary school education in our village. In those days, during colonial times, one thing unique about we were under British colonial rule. First, after the Berlin Conference, we were under the Germans. We became part of the German East Africa. And they're popularly known as Deutsch Ostafrika. At that time, German East Africa had the three countries now of Tanganyika, mainly Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. We were a German colony. After World War I, when the Germans lost the war, Tanganyika became part of the British Empire. Rwanda and Burundi became part of Leopold's Congo, became part of the the Belgians. So that's first the important part of the history. The Germans had 4 colonies in Africa. German East Africa, Deutsch Ostafrika. That is present-day Tanzania mainland, Rwanda, and Burundi. Southwest Africa. That is Namibia now. Another colony they had was Cameroon. The 4th colony was Togo. The Germans had 4 colonies. It's important for you to know this part of this history. So after they lost the war, so the colonial powers and then came back and drew the borders. Rwanda and Burundi became part of the Belgians colony. Southwest Africa was handed over to South Africa. The Boers of South Africa took over Southwest Africa, Namibia. Cameroon was divided between the French and the British. That's why you have English-speaking Cameroon that borders Nigeria, and then you have French-speaking Cameroon. Right now they have a lot of problems internally because those who are English-speaking feels that they are being considered as second-class citizens in their own country. So there is a lot of instability in there. Togo became a French colony. So that's the one part. Kenya was a British colony. Uganda was under the British. Zanzibar was under the British. Of course, there was the Sultan of Zanzibar, but also under the British Empire. So that's the history of our countries. So the British did not invest in the education of the people of our country. They left education in the hands of missionaries. The only schools they built was Tabora School for sons of chiefs and Tabora girls. They built Mzumbe, where they also start a secondary school, but also they were training primary court magistrates to lock Africans in, take them to court and then lock them in, put them in jail. But otherwise, the education system was in the hands of faith-based organizations. Because unfortunately for the Muslims, they were quite active on that one. The Christian missionaries were quite active. So, but then the education system was, the primary school education was two-tier. You have standard 1 to standard 4. After that, you sit for a standard 4 examination, you go to middle school. So there's the standard 1 to 4 was mainly schools by the local authorities, at that time called native authorities. After independence, because native the other, in the English language also it means slave. So people are not happy with you continue to call them native authorities. They call them local authorities, LA. Then you have NA, and then local LA. So the middle schools, I went to a Catholic middle school. I'm a Muslim, but I went to a Catholic middle school, St. John Bosco's Middle School, Lugoba, for my standard 5 to standard 8 education. So after independence, what the independence government did was, one, President Nyerere nationalized all schools that belonged to the faith-based organizations. Since education, everybody has to have access to education. We cannot have education that only people of certain religion have access to education. So they nationalized all the schools, both primary schools and secondary schools. Those of you who come from Tanzania, for example, Dar es Salaam, Forodhani was St. Joseph, school by the Catholics. Kibasira was St. Xavier, another school by the Catholics. Minaki was St. Andrews by the Anglicans. Pugu College was by the Catholics. And the others were, the Tambaza was by the Aga Khan, the Ismaili community. It used to be Tambaza Aga Khan boys. Kisutu, Zanaki was Aga Khan girls. Yes. Kisutu was the other, the sect of the Baniani. At that time it was a DA. And then there's another Indian name, a very long one. Then after nationalization, it became Kisutu. So that was all. And Azania was another sect of the Baniani community, and so was Jangwani. So that's it. And then all these other schools, Dodoma Alliance, Mazengo was the Dodoma Alliance, the Anglicans, so all these schools, because the British did not invest in the education of the Africans. So a lot of the work on education really was a post-independence business. And a lot of the work now on education, at least a secondary school education, was my work when I became president. Because when I became president, only 6% of young boys and girls who finished primary school could get access to secondary school. So what we did was a decision to build secondary school in every ward. And we had over 3,000 wards. But you say the government doesn't have money. What we did is a PPP. public people partnership. Public representing the government, the other P representing the people, and the P is partnership. We said, okay, fine. Communities build secondary schools. What the government will do is provide the roofing. Amazingly, the response of the people was phenomenal. They built schools like ants. At some point, my Minister of Education then came to me and said, look here, President, can you tell the people to stop building the schools? I said, but why? So we don't have enough teachers. I told her, look here, they are ready to build schools now, secondary schools. If we have to tell them until when we are ready, by which time their interest may have moved to something else, we will miss the secondary schools, and we cannot continue with 6% of our boys and girls transiting into secondary school. We cannot remain a country of primary school leavers. Take note of it. Primary school education is literacy education. Education that empowers starts with secondary school. And I'm a member of the Education Commission, the Commission on Financing Global Education Opportunity. Our chairman is Gordon Brown. In that study of that commission, we worked with so many research institutions globally. The conclusion has been there is a serious education crisis, which is more pronounced in the developing countries. It manifests itself in the following. 1, 260 million young people are out of school. 260 million. Out of these 260 million, 100 million are in Africa. How many continents are there in the world? If you count with Greenland. But stop, don't count Greenland, because Greenland is part of Norway. Part of Denmark, I'm sorry, yes. It's part of Denmark. But you have Africa, you have Latin America, you have North America, 3. You have Europe, you have Asia, and Australia. Of all the continents in the world, children and young people who are out of school are 260 million. By the time we finish our report in 2016, we presented to Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General. But 100 million of these are in Africa. First, you should take note of the seriousness of this problem. And in Africa, only 20% of the children who finish primary school can have access to secondary school. These are serious statistics. You are the young people. You have to take note of some of the serious challenges that we are facing on the continent. And now some of us have played our part. Now, you are the leaders now and the leaders of the future. Only 20% can have access to secondary school. We are essentially a continent of primary school leavers. Which of your countries where you come from, primary school leavers, all of them can have access to secondary school? Is there a country that can raise hands? No. This is the situation we are in. So if it's only 20% can have access to secondary school, it means, and only between 8 and 10% can have access to tertiary education. So this is the sad story. But those who are in school, dropout rate is high. In primary school in Africa, 33% don't complete their education. First, you have 20% of the population. 33% don't complete their education, which means dropout rates. How many of you are teachers here? These are the important statistics. You know, when we were involved in this, because I started with this commission when I was a state president, Gordon Brown was prime minister at that time. One day I was visiting one of the districts. So when I'm visiting the districts, my interest, when I get these reports, my interest has been when it comes to education. When they come into enrollment rate is now 99%. That's fine. In primary school. Okay, I tell them, okay, fine. But tell me, how many of those who completed the primary school this year were there when they started primary one? That's when you find this information to be true. Just take interest. You know, this is something when you go back, just take interest. You'd be amazed. They would start 99%. They would finish 66%. So this is the other serious part of the situation of education in Africa. But even those who finish their primary school, their secondary school, the learning outcomes are low. This is the other aspect. It's a question of the quality of education. Is another critical challenge that we are facing. I'm chairman of the board of the Global Partnership for Education. This is a huge institution that was created by the G7 20 years ago. It's based in Washington, D.C. at the World Bank. In its 20 years life, I'm the first African chairman of the board. Otherwise, the chairmanship was... Otherwise, the chairmanship has been rotating between America, US, Western Europe, and I took over from Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister of Australia. This is an NGO, it's an NGO essentially. But its focus is access to quality education for all. And in that 20 years of life of this organization, the board has never met outside Europe and America. So it's the first time we are taking the board to Zanzibar in this time. I asked, let's go outside. Unfortunately, everybody was excited, because Zanzibar has a sentimental kind of message. So you tell people of the board, we are going to meet in Zanzibar, they say, no, we must go. But if I mentioned anywhere else in Africa, we would have a lot of discussions. No, we have to admit, that's it. Zanzibar has a special place. It's a special place. When you mention in Europe, from America, we are going to take the board to Zanzibar. Oh, fine. I also chaired the high-level commission of the UNFPA. We have also held a board meeting in Zanzibar. But let's come back to the issue. I want you young people to understand our education situation is not so good. It's an area where we have to deal. We are working so hard with we are making successes with access, with regards to access. But retention of students in schools is a problem. Even for secondary school, not even primary school. In my capacity as chairman in the commission, I visited 15 African countries. In Chad and Niger, when a girl reaches the age of 15, she has to be married. So yeah. I visited Chad at that time, visited President Idris Deby when he was still alive. I had a lot of history because when you visit country, you had a dossier. I said, don't hesitate, say, President, don't hesitate, tell me. So, but we are told here, a girl, when a girl reaches 15 years, she has to be married. He said, yeah. He says, it's a problem. He had to make a decree. And the men were fighting him for making that decree, that girls they have got to go beyond 15 years. So we have that problem. So that's why in GPE, the phrase we use, we have hardwired gender. That in all the countries, we are working in 89 countries worldwide. And almost all African countries are working with us. One of the conditionalities with our cooperation with those countries is girl-child education. You never know. In Lake Chad area, illiteracy rate is 90%. You're talking on Africa today. We are not talking Africa pre-independence. And it is around this area that we have the prominent operations of Boko Haram. So, but this is one point I really want you to, as young people, to take note, that we have a serious problem with education, and we have got to be serious to make sure that our children have access to education. But the other aspect of education is in Africa, when we talk about education, we start with primary school. Preschool is not a factor. Yeah. Preschool is not a factor. When you tell you, what are you doing? They will only tell you about Madam, one of the countries I visited was Uganda. I visited the president up in Chisozi, I think, in his ranch. So I go there, I say, we want this data on preschool. He says, no, this one is not our business. This is the concept we had. In many of our countries, preschool is not a factor. So there is a lot that we have to do. I'm talking this to you young people to know some of the teething challenges that we have on the African continent. And education is one of those big areas where we have to do a lot more. I have trust in you guys. When you go back to your countries, do research. And access to education at primary school, at secondary school, retention, which is about completion rate. Those who are in school, are they completing their education? And then look at the quality of education for those levels. So these are some of the areas that we have to take seriously. That's why when I was president, one of my signature programs that I gave a lot of attention to is education. Even with higher education. You know, Tanzania is the largest country in East Africa. It is the largest population, bigger population than Kenya. We're bigger than Kenya, we're bigger than Uganda, and far bigger than Rwanda and Burundi. Of course, now with the GRC in the East African community, DRC is Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Malawi, Zambia, combined. And there will be 400,000 square kilometers left. I think it's DRC, the second largest country in Africa now. Yes. It's Algeria, I think, the first one, and then the second is the DRC. But at that time, when we were talking about the original East Africa, when it comes to primary school access, secondary school access, university access, Kenya has been the leading country. Uganda was second. And Tanzania was the third. So when I became president, I said, look, we can't be the largest country with the largest population, but when it comes to access to education in primary school, secondary school, and higher education, we are the least. Because the situation has now changed, because there used to be so many Tanzanian boys and girls coming to primary school in Kenya and Uganda, going to secondary school in Kenya and Uganda. The issue has been lack of access. So we said, this has to change. This has to change. Of course, my predecessor worked on universal primary education. He left when it was 96%. I went up to 98, 99 by the time I left. I focused on secondary school education. Because the time when I came into office, secondary school education from Form 1 to Form 6, the total student population of 524,000 and a few hundreds there. When we build secondary schools now through community participation, enrollment in secondary school is over 1.5 million. So you can see how many we are not accessing secondary school education. It's not a question of magic. The issue is access. When the schools are not there, the whole country remains a primary school, a country of primary school leavers. But when you build schools, that's when these young boys and girls have access to them. And so we had to address the issue of quality. The first is with quality teachers. When I was president, our universities and primary and colleges of education were producing over 500 teachers. So what we did, we have to expand on teacher training. You know, when we are challenged with these kinds, we have to look for solutions. I said, fine. When we built the new university in Dodoma, we said it's a university that can take 40,000 students. It's a huge university. But we said one of the biggest schools there is the School of Education with 10,000. And then we expanded teacher training in all the government universities that we had. The University of Dar es Salaam, where I'm now Chancellor, and the other universities. But I convened a meeting of the faith-based organizations that had universities. I spoke to them. I said, look here, we have an acute shortage of secondary school teachers. So what I want you to do, establish faculties of education. The promise I'm making, the government will employ all the teachers that you produce. But produce quality teachers. That's why we gave what we call the TCU, the Tanzania, the Commission of overseeing quality of education in universities. So that's how we were able now to mobilize quickly to get too many teachers. By the time I left university, I left office, well, we almost, every year we're almost getting over 10,000 teachers. Now, of course, we use university graduates, teachers used to teach only in secondary schools. Now we are taking them down to primary schools. Because in primary school, we only had certificate teachers. And then, of course, we had problems of textbooks and other teaching aids. So we had to use a lot of innovative ways to ensure quality of education. We've tried our best, but we still have got to go. I'm glad my successors, President Magufuli and now President Samia, has been quite exceptional. Yes. She has invested a lot in education now. Building more classrooms, building more schools. Yes. I think they built over 15,000 classrooms, schools. Now we have come to a point where every boy or girl who passes the primary school exam can have a place in secondary school. Because prior to that, the famous word was, no, your child has not failed, only that he has not been selected. But every time the results are announced, there is cries every family. Children are crying, I have failed, I have failed. So you said, now we don't use those words anymore. He who has not been selected to go to a secondary school has actually failed. So, and then of course with with building the university in Dodoma and then encouraging the faith-based schools, universities to train teachers. We also introduced students' loan scheme. The original concept by my predecessor was we only access this to students who are studying in government universities. I said, no, let's expand it. Students who study in any university, whoever owns it, can have access to the students' loan. That's why we were able now to expand to university enrollment from 40,000 to 200,000 now. So at least we are catching up with Kenya. We are still have a road somewhere to cover with Kenya. But I think we have now overtaken Uganda. Yes? No, with regards to enrollment, go and look at your statistics. You know, I'm talking from statistics. You know, you have some assumptions. Because I've been working on statistics. And it is these statistics guided me on the policy decision and actions that we've been taking. Just go back and look at the statistics. Yes. So at least we said, we still have a lot to catch up with Kenya, but I'm sure in the next few years, we'll also catch up. So Kenya, watch out, we are coming. So, but I just wanted to share this on education, but the important point I'm saying is too many children in Africa are out of school, and those in school, many are not completing their education, and those who are completing their education, the learning outcomes are low. This is one of our biggest challenges. And if we cannot solve the education question, the things we have been talking about here, come 2050, we'll have 1.4 billion, because right now, globally, I think there are 800,000 young people. Young people. But Africa has 800,000 young people. And if we come to 2050, and these young people cannot have quality education, they will not have the skills, this is a crowd ready to be rented. The instability that will be there 2050 is unimaginable. Well, I will not be there. 2050 will be 100 years. Getting to 100 years is wishful thinking. You have just to be honest. Even if I'm lucky to be there, I don't know what state of mind I will be. Physical and mental. But all of you will be there by 2050. Am I lying? No, you'll be there. Yeah, it's only 25 years from now. Who is 40 years here? Nobody. Yeah. 20 years from now, the oldest of you will be 60 or 59. You'll be there. I will not be there. So, this is your responsibility. Take it. Make sure that come 2050, we don't have thousands and millions of our young people on the African continent who have no access to education. Unless millions of people who are dropouts in schools, and those who are in schools don't have the quality education, they don't have the quality, the skills. We're talking about skills of the level of education they have completed. This is going to be your challenge. I'm telling you now, I'll not be there, but you remember what I've said. Nyinyi mtakuwepo, mimi sitakuwepo. And it is going to be your responsibility. Some of you will be presidents, some of you will be ministers, will be prime ministers, you'll already be grandfathers, yes? But at which time, I want the young people of East Africa to remember this, that we have a challenge, we have a responsibility. Come 2050, if we don't act now, the issue of acting is our responsibility now as fathers and those in office and power. I'm retired, but I'm still there helping the continent, helping the globe. I'm busy with global education, I'm busy with the Education Commission, I'm busy with so many things, but every time I'm involved in anything, I look at Africa, my dear continent, and see how we can help. So that's my biggest message today on the fire chart. Okay. I finished primary school. I joined Kibaha Secondary School. I joined Tanga School for high school. I joined the University of Dar es Salaam. I finished the university in 1972. President Museveni was ahead of us 3 years. Yeah. That's why I'm saying, look here. I'm not a young man. Yeah. Yes. He was there at the University of Dar es Salaam. They had university students revolutionary front called the USARAF. Yes. Very militant. At the University of Dar es Salaam. His militancy did not start, he started at the University of Dar es Salaam. Yes. But we joined, we have been told stories about, there was Museveni here, very militant. But he left 3 years before us, I think 1970 or 69. Yes. Yes. So, okay, in leadership. When I was in secondary school at Kibaha, I was elected chairman of the Students' Council. I was in Form 3, and this was a high school. It had up to Form, but because I was making a lot of noise. I was a kind of daredevil, you know. When it is about students' rights, I would always be in the forefront, fighting for those rights. So when they established the Students' Council, everybody in the school said, no, Bwana Kikwete, our chairman. So I became chairman of the Student Council. I was chairman of the Tan Youth League at Kibaha, and then when I moved to Tanga School, I was again chairman of the Youth League. But at Tanga School, I was deputy head prefect. Then from there, when I moved to the University of Dar es Salaam, I became student leader at the university. Again, it's true because making noises. But don't make a lot of noise, because when you make a lot of noises, people give you positions of leadership to fight for their rights. So, of course, but elections at the University of Dar es Salaam were tough elections. It is just like the campaigns you do. I was doing when I was fighting for public office. You volunteer, you get a group of henchmen and women. At that time, the University of Dar es Salaam had a 3-tier structure. We had the University of Dar es Salaam, where at the main campus, and then at Morogoro we had the School of Agriculture, the College of Agriculture. At Muimbili we had the College of Medicine. But prior to that, Prior to us coming in, there was the University of East Africa, with Julius Nyerere as the chancellor. Dar es Salaam was specializing in law training. Most of the elderly lawyers in East Africa are Dar es Salaam trained. Amos Wako and all these guys, the former Chief Justice. All these lawyers in East Africa were being trained at the University of Dar es Salaam. Makerere specialized on medicine. All the senior doctors in East Africa are graduates of Makerere University. In Nairobi, everybody has everything to say, oh yeah. And Nairobi was training engineers. This was the division of labor in the East African University. And then when all of us had the ambition of becoming complete, then that's why each one of our countries separately established their own. There was University of Nairobi, University of Dar es Salaam, University of Makerere, belong to the respective countries. But what remained was the East African University Council, I think. And it up to this day, that structure remains. Only that it is not as active as it is. So that's it. So you come up, you organize a campaign team, and you campaign seriously. And this information, 2 days before the election, some people concocted a manifesto, issuing it in my name. And the manifesto had all the things that students did not like. Were things that they were saying, I'm going to stand for them. I'm going to make sure that these things are implemented. And we had a big problem. Then this issued. I convened my campaign team. We sit down and discuss. Then we said, this is just a desperate attempt of those who thinks that they can't make it. We made sure that we printed our manifesto in time, and then we cleared the air. But the problem did not end there. When midway in our mandate, people conspired to overthrow our government. I can assure you. So then what happened? Fortunately, the conspirators involved someone who was my ardent supporter. So he came and called me, please, these are the documents. I'm not telling you a lie. This is the plan. So we convened our team again that night. We had to organize it. At the University of Dar es Salaam, at that time, we used to have what they call the war literature. It's a popular place. After the cafeteria, before you go to classes, you pass through there, you read. And then the war literature, we came up with our own information, revealing someone pretending that he's now walking out of he was part of, I'm no longer with you. Yes, these are the things that you have to do. I'm no longer with you. Then they read, he reveals the whole plan. And that's how we saved our government. That's how but what we did that night, we identified all those guys who were conspiring. We had some people there who were trained in judo. They would go with those chains there. Hey, wake up. You have a plan to overthrow this government. Go ahead. Shut your door. Sleep. So in the morning, the whole thing just crumbled. So I was saying, these are student politics. I'm not talking of government. So and then of course, then in 1995, young people came to me. Against young people. We saw those who were picking up the forms were all the elderly. In 1995, I was 44. Then we said, young people, we said, look here, we have to challenge these old guards. We cannot leave them. So he said, who is going to go? There are two of us, me and Edward Loasa. I said, okay, the two of us will go. So we went and picked up the forms. And in the elimination, Edward was eliminated, but I remained. We went for 5. We voted because in our system, you volunteer, and then the national the central committee shortlists 5. You take these 5 to the National Executive Committee. The National Executive Committee votes secret ballot to get 3. And these 3 names are now being taken to the Congress, where you have 2,000 delegates. And the 2,000 delegates vote. Secret ballot to get 1, the one who images. So then, I go there. In the shortlist, I was shortlisted. We go to the first ballot in the National Executive Committee. I was in the list of 3. The first was the Vice President, Mzee Cleopa Msuya. The second was Ben Mkapa. And then I was 3rd. Distant 3rd. So after that, we go to the Congress now. Because that Congress has young people. Has young people. We went there the first round, I won. And at that time, there was no rule of over 50%. Then that is when the elders now wasema, nchi sasa anachukua mtoto. So, now a boy is going to take over leadership of this country. We didn't know, our team didn't know, but all the message we got is that we have won, and the young people were so excited, jubilant. So we go there, we are told, no. We have not gotten to 50%, over 50%. So we are doing the second round. But the first person to be eliminated, I'm saying you, when you open up these systems openly, the first person to be eliminated was the Vice President. Of the 3, I was number 1, President Mkapa was number 2, the Vice President was number 3, and then you eliminate the last one, we remained 2. So in the second ballot, President Mkapa emerged the winner. I think he defeated me by 50 votes or 24 votes. So that's it. But then, of course, the young people were so angry. Of course, I went there. I congratulated the president, our candidate. It cooled the tempers in the conference. But after that, then we go back to our base. Then the young people were at me. What did they promise you? Why did you say it at the conference? You should have waited. We come out and then sit down and decide and agree on now declaring our support. I said, look here, if I didn't speak at the conference, would have come out of the conference a divided party. I saw that. It's in the interest of our party. I spoke. But what is the problem then? Because if it is losing, we have already lost. You cannot have a repeat of the Congress. The Congress is passed. That's what I was telling my supporters, that this process has been concluded. So all of us now have got to support our candidate. I said, all my committees, the formal and the informal ones and the secret ones, I'm handing over all these committees now to. That's when President Nyerere was so happy. He stood up and came and hugged me. For the first time in my life, I got a hug from this giant. But what did that translate? The way I handled myself at that conference is what made me heir apparent. Because if I were to listen to these young people, we would have gone wild. Because after that, after we met, they were coming up with all sorts of ideas. No, let's establish our own party. One of them was saying, no. If there was a private candidate, we would have presented you as a private candidate. This is the problem. Let's establish. I asked them, okay, how do we establish a party now? Because the process of election has already started. How do we establish a party now, come up with a process, get a candidate? I said, no. They were saying, no. You know what we do? We just call the CCM Youth League Council. We meet and declare that we have formed a political party. And said, okay, fine. After that, you go and register. It is the government registering the party. They will not register your party. I said, look here. I told my friends that, look here. Age is on my side. Age is on our side. I'm 44 now. If God is going to be kind enough, give me long life, let President Mkapa finish his 10 years, I will only be 55 or 54. If I'll be lucky, then we can go in. So this is all. So come 2005, I was the candidate. We went there, we had, at the beginning, because in our open system, you get so many candidates. In 1995, there were 17 of us. In 2005, there were 11 of us. In the short list, of course, I was there in the 5. In the voting, I was there in the 3, but this time I was number 1 every time. Everywhere I was number 1 now. And then we go to the Congress. We made sure that we were working on no runoff like we happened in 1995. And of the 2,000 delegates, I got 1,300 votes. And we had Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, who came number 2. And then we had one Professor Mandosia came number 3. So that's my journey. But it had its own many challenges on the way. Because after my performance in 1995 and becoming the apparent next in line, then there are so many attempts to make me not get there. So many of them. But God was on my side, luck was on my side, and we made it. So that's my novel. Of course, I became president. the advantage I had, the disadvantage I would have had if I was elected in 1995 was that I had no specific agenda. I'm being honest. It was simply agenda of the young people. No. We have to challenge these guys. So our agenda was just challenge the old guards and get a young man president. And because the Congress had so many young people, I was very appealing. I'm old now, but you can imagine when it was 1995, I was young. I was very appealing. I was very appealing. So, and of course, fortunately, God was kind with me. I was very eloquent. So, when you give me the microphone, I can make people see charcoal white. And I can argue that case. This charcoal is black. I say, no, it's white. And come up with the arguments. But that's it. So, but after 1995, when it became evident that I can't be president, then I started to think about the agenda. If I become president, what would I do? So that's how really I almost hit the ground running, because we are able to develop a number of the ideas on what we will do in the various sectors. So the point I'm saying, if you have an ambition of becoming president, which is a good ambition, there's no crime. You know, when I was president, I said, but somebody else wants to be president. I said, oh, there's no problem. Because I also had the ambition of becoming president. That's how I became president. So, one thing is have a clear understanding of the society you want to lead. Have a clear understanding of the country. Fortunately, when after finishing university, before finishing university, I was selected to join the party. Because it's a long story on how the president decided that some of us be taken to the party. I went first to the regions in Gida to get grassroots experience. From there, I was taken to the party headquarters. And during the time I was at the party headquarters, I was a recorder of minutes of the meetings of the Central Committee and the National Executive Committee of the party. And these are the two major policy organs of the party. And President Nyerere used to run the country, to rule the country with his party. So all major policy decisions were made by the party. All major decisions of national impact were made by the party. Even the decision after Crazy Idi Amin invaded our country, took over the Kagera salient and declared it the Mishenyi district, a new district of Uganda. President Nyerere convened a meeting of the Central Committee. Of course, he talked with his commanders. And at that meeting, the Chief of Staff, General Kiwelu, was called in to brief the Central Committee on the situation and the capability of the TPDF to deal with a problem. He briefed, the gentleman briefed. After he left, the President Nyerere then was there, sitting. Yeah, I was the one, because I'm the one writing minutes. He said, okay, fine, Jakaya, collect all those pieces of paper that these he was called, these blessed fellows have been writing notes. Go and burn them, incinerate them, burn them, and bring to me the ashes. So I went, I did that, then came back. Said, are you sure you have burnt everything? I said, yes. I was there under the supervision of the security. He said, fine. But then he was talking to the leaders. He was saying, look here. One, he was saying, a leader is measured during the times of difficulties. Our country now is the most difficult time in the history of our country. That we have to fight a war. We did not want it, but one crazy guy said he became a professor of geography and history. He is now correcting the borders. The border should be the rightful border between Uganda and Tanzania should have been at River Kagera. Fine. It is, I don't know which history books he read, which geography books he read. But then, so he said, it is a war that has been imposed on us. And we cannot say, okay, fine, take it. No, we have to fight to get back our land. So he said, you leaders, this is the time to show your capacity and strength as a leader. Why he said that? Because some of the leaders, when the chief of staff was briefing them, were asking, hey, Afande, are you sure? Are you sure that we can beat Idi Amin? So, President Nyerere was saying, look here, you guys, I have confidence in the capacity of my army. We will defeat Idi Amin. He says, if any one of you does not believe, I'm only asking one thing to you. Shut your mouth. Please shut up. Because you are a leader. If you come out publicly and say you don't have confidence in the capability of the Tanzania People's Defense Force to fight this war, people will be discouraged. They will not support the war. So he says, my only request to you is shut up. And then after that he said, okay, the other thing I'm telling you, I'm going to declare war today. And I want all of you to be there. That was about midday in the meeting with the third. Because when President Nyerere used to have major announcements, he would convene a meeting of elders of Dar es Salaam. He would address those elders, he would address the nation. So that's where he went there, he declared war. So, of course, we go to this meeting. Nobody knows what is going to happen. They ask me, hey, were you at the meeting? I said, yes. What is this meeting about? I said, I don't know. It was not my responsibility to say what that meeting was all about. I knew that day Mwalimu Nyerere is going to declare war. But this is the whole factor of secrecy. And why he asked me to take all those pieces of paper. The point is, in those pieces of paper, when the chief of staff was briefing them, they were taking notes. And in the military, those of you who are in the military know there is something we call concentration area. There is something we call forming a place, because I'm a retired lieutenant colonel of the army. When we were asked to choose between politics and And the army, I retired from the military. I said, I'm choosing politics. So, you were briefing how the whole mobilization of the people's militia to join the war and so on, the general mobilization. These are notes that were being discussed there, and people were writing. And he was telling them, whatever you have heard here, don't tell anybody, even your wife or husband. Don't tell it. So this is how you run a government. If you run a government and there is no secrecy, there's nothing you can do. If you decide to do something today and after you leave the meeting, everybody in the streets, in the social media has the information of what has been decided by cabinet, you have no government. There is nothing you can run. Of course, at times you are being cheated. Oh no, it's an issue of the right through information, the transparency. They are just lying. The CIA does not say what they want to do. It's a government institution, and they assassinate leaders. They organize coups. But there are people who are just preaching. They have right to information. The media must know. They don't tell. Europe is now fighting the Russians in Ukraine. Are they saying everything? No. But when it comes to Africa, the media must know. The right to information. There are certain rights you'll give. There are certain rights you will not. That's why even the word secrecy is a word that has been invented by government. And for us who did not have governments, these the modern governments, these are words that have been invented by the British. They are there in the laws. In the government ordinances created by the British in 1935, the secrecy ordinance. We've been taught there are things I can't say about the strength of our army. I just can't say. You cannot say, no, the media has to know. Will the United States tell you where the nuclear bunkers are? Where the nuclear silos are? And if they find you close to that, they just shoot you. Because you got that critical information and they don't want you to go and tell anybody. You just disappear like a nobody. So that's precisely the point. So young people, I've been telling you, I've told you so many things. But my important message has been to you is about education. I want you to go here back with this message of education. We have to do something critical in education. Because in 2050, all you people here, except me, you will be there. And except a few of us will be there. So know this is one of your biggest message. This whole story on how I became president is just pastime. It's just pastime. I've gone through a lot. I was mentioning here, because of the time I had between 1995 and 2005, I developed ideas. In fact, I formed two teams. One of them was medical professionals. Fortunately, they are professors who were at university together with me, in secondary school with me. So I said, you guys develop the health agenda. I formed a team under Professor Mukandara. Yes. I said, you guys look at the issues of governance. So some of them, it's a group of economists, social scientists, and all these other guys. They're looking at all these issues. So by the time I was elected president, I had my own ideas on where I want our country to go. That's it. I had my own agenda. So, but this is just pastime. For those of you who are interested in becoming president, I think you got some lessons on the steps, and I wish I pray that someday, one of you guys will emerge a president here. Okay. And when you become president, if I'm still alive, invite me. Tell your prophecy has come to pass. Okay, I think I've taken all your time. But this is... I think let me stop there, and if there are any questions, let's still talk.
Your Excellency, the Generation Z and millennials, normally when they get tired of a job, they just leave the job without resigning. They don't even write letters to resign. And so one of the questions that they have for you here is, which was your worst job and why was it your worst job?
In life, after I finished university, first I was taken to the party. I did not choose. One day I was called for an interview. And at this interview, there was the executive secretary of the party, the chief executive secretary of the party. There was the private secretary to the president, Joseph Butiku, executive secretary, John Muhavile, private secretary, Joseph Butiku, private secretary to President Nyerere. There was Daudi Makawago, who was the publicity secretary of the party. And there was Pius Msoko, who was the vice chancellor of the university. It was at the university. There were, I think, 25 of us were called in. May I just go there and said, we have been directed by the president to get some university students to work for the party. You were one of them. We were looking at. Are you ready? He said, yes, I'm fine. That's all. That's how I got a job. And then I stayed in the job for 2 years. Then one day I get a letter. You have been selected to go to the Officer Cadets Training School at Monduli. I didn't choose. I said, yes, sir. I went there, I trained. I became a lieutenant. Of course, and then through the army, I grew up through the ranks up to Lieutenant Colonel. And then a decision is made. But by that time, you could both be in the army and be in public office. I was minister. And then a decision is made that because we went multi-party then, a decision is made. No, you have to choose between politics. That is where I chose not to go back to the barracks. I was already enjoying this civilian life. Yes. Going back to the barracks, salute the bosses every day. I said, no, I'm minister, I'm my own boss here. So this is the other job. And then from there, I become minister. So what is my worst job?
The one you hated.
There was no job that I hated. But there was a job that was very difficult. Of all the jobs I've been doing, the sector that was giving me a lot of problems was the water sector. You know, at that time coverage was very low. And there wasn't enough water in the rural areas. No, there wasn't enough water in the urban areas. So when you travel the country, and when you see people during the rain, yes, when they build roads, they take gravel from some of the pits, and when it rains, it covers. And when you see women and children drawing that water in a bucket, that was very heart-wrenching kind of experience. You know, you don't feel good. The other time I had, when we had the first brownout, the load shedding, we had a bad drought and the hydropower generation dams dried up. Oh, it was difficult, but the people in the power utility were experts. How they would organize this load shedding, but every time. So when we were in Parliament, when the power would go out, they shout, "Kikwete!" I have to run out, talk to the people of TANESCO. "We have got power at the Parliament House. So sorry, don't worry. In a few minutes we returned it." So I buy time there. When the power has already come back, I just go in there and say, "Wah, wah, wah, wah." They congratulate me. But I think that those but water sector was incomparable. Of course, the other difficult moments in my leadership journey was when I was Minister of Finance. The requirements are huge. The national cake is very small. It's just like trying to share your 8 hunters and trying to share a rabbit. How much would each get? And I remember one of the most difficult times was when the Minister of Health, then Professor Sarungi, in cabinet was telling my president, "This minister is not God-fearing. I don't think he believes in God. He's not giving me enough money for patients in hospitals." And I say, "What do I do? We have to share." So these are some of those jobs that you came to moments when they are quite difficult moments. But otherwise, the other challenges are just normal challenges. Then of course, when I became Minister of Finance, I tried to do something to support the water sector. We go to Paris for the Paris consultative meetings with the donors. At that time, the World Bank had initiated a track on support to the social sectors in Tanzania. And the World Bank had earmarked only health and education. Coming from the Ministry of Water and knowing that we don't have enough money, the donors were not giving us enough. Then I told the Minister of Planning to go to that sector as I was really trying to talk to the donors now to increase the support for Tanzania. The Minister of Planning goes there, and then as I was going there, somebody from the IMF came out of that meeting, came to our meeting. He says, "I've come out of that meeting. I felt like vomiting." I said, "Why?" That minister, we tell him social sectors, water and health and education. He still is talking about water. But our argument has been, when you talk about health care, a lot of our diseases are waterborne diseases because people don't have access to clean water. So if you want to support social sectors and you don't want to support the water sector, you're not solving the problem. You're not solving the problem. You are still leaving the major cause of diseases. It's the lack of access to clean water. So it's it's really a challenge. When I was Minister for Water, because of budgets was not enough, there were projects that started in 1974. I became minister in 1990, and they had not been completed even halfway. So in Parliament, the parliamentarians were blocking my budget from being passed until I make a promise that I'm going to give them money. Where do I get the money? Then I tell them, look here, in 1974, when this project started, I was a third-year student at the University of Dar es Salaam. I said, listen, Minister, we are talking to the minister, not the student, the person who was a student at the university in 1970. You are now the minister. So, these are some of those difficult moments. And you think maybe if I say I was a student at third year at the university, those parliamentarians will say, oh, we forgive you. No. We are talking to the government. We are not talking to a former student of the University of Dar es Salaam in 1974. We are having problems with water. We want money for our water projects. So, there are difficult moments in all these situations. Yeah. And when you are president, you get the most difficult moments. When I was president, one of the difficult moments was when we started the AU. And there was secession in the Comoros. The Anjouan Island has seceded. They said they want to be part of France. Africa does not cease to surprise. The problem started when I was chairman of the Council of Ministers of the OAU. So I led a delegation. We went to this island. They had already made a flag of their own. And inside that flag, they had the flag of France, to show that they are part of the France now. We are not part of the Comoro Islands government, republic. And they were met with a huge banner. Our independence is non-negotiable. A place of a distance of 10 kilometers. We were driving at 5 kilometers. It took us 45 minutes to get to the square. And we go to the square, a very rowdy crowd. They were saying, you stand here, listen to us. But we said, look here, our mandate is not to address a political rally. Our mandate is to go and talk to the president and the prime minister. There's no, we want to read you a message from the people. We say, no. We are not attending this meeting. That was the day when I really saw death staring on our... We had a team of 8 ministers, I think. And I told everybody, all the other ministers, just stay in the car. I'm going to talk to these guys. They argued. I said, no way. We are not talking to you. Until they said, okay, fine. Then we had to go around, and we had to go through the port and to get an exit gate. And at that exit gate, there was a huge padlock, and the person who had the key was not there. So that was the moment I was saying, if they had locked the gates and just killed us, they would have just burnt us alive. But then, of course, the guy, the soldier there, came and opened the gate. We went back to a hotel, we had lunch, and then we were told the adhana, the call to prayer for the Muslims, sounded. When the adhana sounded, everybody else went to pray. It's a predominantly Muslim country. And then they told us, now that these guys have gone to pray, this is the time for you to go. So we had to run away. So we took our cars to the airport. That's when we realized that that distance, we thought was a long distance, was only 5 kilometers. But they lined people through and driving at 5 kilometers per hour, it looked very far. So we left. And then they seceded again. This time I was president and chairman now of the AU. So we met in the AU summit. We got this report from then the council, the Security Council of the AU was saying we have had 22 meetings with this Major Mohammed Bakar, Colonel Mohammed Bakar. We're tired now. Then we all sit down and everybody says, no, we have to take action. We have to take action. Let's take military action. I said, okay, fine. They said the chair must be the first to contribute troops, and the chair country is going to be to provide the force commander and lead the mission. He said, okay, fine. And then Senegal came up, Sudan came up, volunteered, Libya also volunteered. Then we said, so we mobilized. But as we were mobilizing, then we had one friendly nation was saying, no, we shouldn't go. I said, then he was telling Ban Ki-moon, he said, Kikwete is a general. He doesn't care about bloodshed. And there's going to be a lot of bloodshed in the Anjou. And then Ban Ki-moon calls me. But I say, look here, it is not my decision. It is a decision of the African Union that we should stop this secession. Otherwise, this country is going to break up. And of course, at that time, we suspected that France was part of the conspiracy. We said we can't allow this. So that's how we. Then we had to do a lot of maneuvers. This is how you run government. So we said, okay, fine. All the plans were ready. The troops were ready to deploy. But then we had this conference and they were organizing a Security Council meeting. We told the people of government of Comoros, ask to go to the Security Council meeting. Because if you go there, they will wait for you. So the day of the Security Council meeting, 3 days before, we carried out the operation. And we took back the island. But it was so tense. It was so tense. Because when you allow these troops now to move in, and where there was so much scare that there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, and you fear if it happens. But my soldiers are saying there's not going to be bloodshed. Well, they entered there without firing a shot. It was just created some decoys. By 4 a.m., when these people woke up, the whole place had already been taken over. But this is some of those these are the tense moments. You will go in your leader and you get these reports straight. What is going on? How is it going on? Well, there are so many difficult moments in life, but these are the challenges for leadership. You have to be ready to take difficult decisions if it has to be done. It's just like when President Nyerere decided to go to war, and his fellow leaders were saying, hey, tell us, are you sure we can beat Idi Amin? He said, you guys, shut up. If you don't believe, just shut your mouth. Yeah.
Your Excellency, I know you have another program. Will you take questions?
Well, if there are 2 questions.
2.
Hey. Choose any. I'm not going to choose.
I'm going to take the lady in blue there. And the gentleman in an African shirt here.
Then I will see if the questions are very brief.
Try and make them very brief.
Yes, and I'll also be making very brief answers.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm Nankunda Promise from Uganda. There is something you talked about, the Tanzania being better to Ugandans in education. And then formally you are telling us that it's now when you're empowering teachers to teach, training. I didn't get it. Was it number of graduates? Is it the infrastructure or the teacher training? My question now is, if it's not teacher training, Ugandan teachers, we are requesting employers because the Ugandan teachers are already on the streets. Thank you so much.
No, when we are actually about talking about the numbers, when we expand, when we built the Doma University, which takes 40,000 students, it was a major leap forward in terms of numbers. And then we expanded at the University of Dar es Salaam, which used to take 15,000. We're almost now getting to close to 40,000 again. And then of course because when we established the students loan scheme and extended it to private universities, many of these private universities now sprang up. Then we got in terms of numbers. I'm not talking about in terms of quality of education and so on. We have not come to that point. Yes, but in terms of numbers, we know we're able to catch up. We've been able to catch up, but I'm not talking about the quality. When it comes to shortage of teachers, even now after the huge expansion in teacher education, we still have so many teachers now looking for jobs. Some of them have become drivers of boda drivers of bajaji. Some of them are busy now. We call chips dume, chips mayai, yeah? Netwazege. No, it is all in terms of numbers. I'm saying we are still far. Kenya is still ahead of us, but I think we've caught up with Uganda. Yes, we are not sending now our children to primary schools in Kenya or in Uganda. We are doing that. But there are so many other things we did. You know, before becoming president, we had big problems with the road infrastructure. Someone who goes to Bukoba has to come to Kenya, to Uganda, and then through Mutukula to someone going to Mwanza or Musoma has to come to Kenya through Sirari, and then again to Hispania, Sirari, to back to Tanzania. We invested a lot in the road infrastructure. Yes, but we made that commitment. I made that promise. We are going to connect all the regional capitals with tarmac roads. And I think we have one of the best road infrastructure. Yes. We invested a lot in that. It's just that, as I'm saying, I had time to think over the issues and time to plan. But I used the time I was foreign minister, the networks that I had created. I'd created many friends in the donor community. I was getting a lot of support. And of course, when I go to Denmark, I got my education for the Kibaha Nordic Tanganyika project. So when I go to Denmark, I say, oh yes, Mr. Holmelund was my teacher. They say, that's fine. Mr. Martin Anfinsen was my teacher. The Norwegians say, oh, so. I say, I got Danish education, I have Norwegian education, Swedish education, Finnish education. So I had many friends the world over. So at least I was able to mobilize a lot of support. My time as foreign finance minister, we had a good, wonderful time we developed with the World Bank. My time as foreign minister, I built a lot of rapport. No wonder when I became president, we had the visit of President Bush, then we had the visit of President Obama. We had built those bridges when I was foreign minister. You build these bridges, and that's what made my life a bit easy when I was president, when it came to looking for development support and assistance, which we got a lot. The only time I had the difficulties when I went to Japan with the former Prime Minister Abe. I was asking to support us with the construction of a road. And this Prime Minister blatantly told me, President, this is a road from nowhere to nowhere. You can see this is what he told me. This is a road from nowhere to nowhere. Then he refused to support us. But fortunately, through my friendship with President Bush, when we were conceiving the MCC program, and the Americans were generous. They said, President, tell us what you want us to do. We're not going to dictate to choose the programs. I made sure that with the Americans, I chose the roads where no donor was ready to support us. This road from nowhere to nowhere, I gave it to the Americans. And there was another road from Tunduma to Sumbawanga. No donor was interested in it. The road from Tanga to Horohoro on the Kenyan border. Yes. Then the Americans say, do you want it? Yes, yes. We got the largest compact, MCC compact. And we built this. So we were able to get those programs. Yes. Then when the Americans decided on this road, then the governor of one of the finance institutions, they call GBIC in Japan, came. So I told this. He said, the road that you said you refused to support us, but the Americans are doing part of it. Then fortunately on that day, there was this big announcement in the Guardian newspaper, the road. He said, this is the road. He read it. He said, now listen, President, go and talk to the African Development Bank. We have our money there. I'm telling you something, a secret. We have our money there. So on the day we were in stone for the Arusha Namanga Athi River Road, which was being supported by the African Development Bank, I spoke to President of the ADB at that time, Donald Kaberuka. I told them I've been to Japan and they said I should talk to you. They have their money with the African Development Bank. Yeah. He said, oh, give us the roads. I gave them the roads. Then ADB ended up supporting us. And every time you go and lay a foundation stone on a road supported by the ADB, a representative of the Japanese embassy would be there. Or you commission the road. A representative of the Japanese embassy would be there. So, a road from nowhere to nowhere, but we were... So, these are some of those very difficult moments in leadership. It's just like when I was Minister of Finance, you go to the meetings in Paris. You get there, you argue a case about balance of payments. They say, how much money foreign exchange are you going to collect? Say this much. How much is your export, your import bill? Say this one. Okay, then the donor says, okay, get out. You go out, they now calculate. Denmark says, we want to give you 70 million, Norway this one, World Bank 110, this one 110, then they add that one, then you are called in. You know, it is that humiliating. But what else do you do? You don't have the resources. If you don't get those resources, there is virtually nothing. You have a big problem. We came there with a big problem of forex. We are getting forex through this balance of payment support. So these are some of those realities. It is difficult. So that is where you say, it is so expensive to be poor. But what else do you do? You either say you swallow your pride, or you say, no, I'm saying no, in the interest of my pride, to hell with you. To hell with you, then everything crumbles. So these are some of those realities.
We need to give His Excellency his flowers. The Arusha Namanga Athi River Road is one of the most beautiful roads you'll ever travel.
I know.
Especially for those of us who use it frequently. The good gentleman.
We did the same with the road from Chiotera to Mutukula, to Bunazi on Muhutwe on the Tanzanian side. Yes. Because this is the other thing. They would always talk to you about regional integration. But when you go to us, you say, we developed the East African Road Network. The time I was Minister, Foreign Affairs, Rebecca Kadaga was Minister on Community in East Africa. And here in Kenya we had Total Man, Nicholas Biwott. The three of us, we toured the whole world. We went to Japan, we went to the World Bank, we went to Washington, D.C., we talked to U.S. government, we went to Brussels to speak to the EU. So everybody would encourage you to do regional projects. But there is no money that donors have set aside for regional projects. So when you negotiate with the ADB, you negotiate as Uganda. You take the Chiotera Mutukula stretch. And then Tanzania negotiate with the ADB on the Mutukula Mhutwe through Bukoba stretch. But then they say, but if you encourage regional integration, but there is no money for regional projects, well, these are some of the challenges, but it is their money. What else do you do? You ask. If they don't give you money for other projects, so then you go there and say, no, the Tanzanian basket has been emptied. So it's a regional project, but because the Tanzanian basket has been emptied, the project is not there. Well, the second who was the second one?
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. You passionately talked about education, and we were very keen listening to it. And indeed, the education is the foundation for a child development, but also transformation of the community. But when you look at pre-education, most of our nations are not yet committed to pre-education. Probably they are looking at investment that come with that. I think somehow Zimbabwe is taking some steps towards building their pre-education. Therefore, I have one proposal and one question in line with education. The proposal is, if delegates here allow, that as YouLead, take home one of the thematic areas for YouLead be education, on top of the three we already have. And the question, just like you said, we work as a team for development. My senior sister is going to ask the question.
Thank you. Education, definitely the foundation, and it's part and parcel of transformation. But my question is, and I'd like you to advise those who are taking from here as a takeaway that education is important. To what extent or how can they navigate the fact that education is not a benign issue. It is highly political. And in most of our countries, it is a political issue. It's nothing to do with pedagogy and how many teachers and so on and so forth, but rather that governments sometimes intentionally decide on a policy that does not affect or will not affect their leadership. So it is a political issue more than anything else. And how would they, as the young leaders, be able to navigate that political scene?
Well, I would say what the young leaders can do is advocacy. It's advocacy. You're not in positions of authority, but do advocacy. Look at what you can do. But what we have done, as I said, I'm chairman of the Global Partnership, of the board of the Global Partnership for Education. In preparation for the London meeting, the replenishment round, as I'm saying, because this institution was established by the big powers, the G7. The replenishment before that was hosted by Macron, and what followed was hosted by Boris Johnson before when he was Prime Minister. One of the things in preparation for the London meeting was we created a track to mobilize domestic finance for education. And we gave ourselves a target that let countries allocate 20% of the national budget for education. And we asked countries to sign in to that. And President Uhuru Kenyatta was the champion of that. By the time President Uhuru Kenyatta finished his mandate of leadership in Kenya, only 19 countries have signed. Now is President Akufo-Addo, who has taken over as champion of that. And I think they have election this year or next year. So maybe after he leaves office, we may also do it. So one of the things we are saying is we have not seen, not many countries have responded to the allocation of 20% of the national budget for education. If countries do that, there's going to be progress. Because the point we are saying is we have 5 billion that we are getting from the donors. Every country promises. But when we went into COVID problem, we had a big problem. But now after the war in Ukraine, we are having a lot of problems with countries in the developed countries meeting their commitment on contribution to education, to GPE budgets. So we are continuing on our own. In fact, we succeeded with the African Union. Next year is going to be the year of education. It's going to be the year of education. And we are organized to have a sideline meeting of the GPE with the African leaders to encourage them to increase budget for education. That's something that we are doing, I'm doing, yes. But I'm doing, we have Africa at heart. You know, I'm retired, but I think I'm spending a lot of time on the African continent. We are doing, I'm doing. But what you can do is advocacy. Advocacy. Work with the teacher. Work with teacher associations. Teacher associations. Work with parliamentarians. Identify those parliamentarians who have interest in education. Some of them are teachers. And it happens, many teachers have become parliamentarians. If you can talk to, work with the parliamentarians who are teachers, who have interest in education, they'll be the people who are going to help in advocacy. Well, I think we have to call it a day. Eh?
That's a good place to stop.
The fire now has died. The fire has been extinguished. But yeah, well, of course we'll have time. If we can organize, we can have time and Maybe you have some other meeting midway, fine. But let's just pray to God that God will keep us alive to the next meeting. Yes. So that's it. But I also hope if the president gets time here, President Ruto, he may organize another fire chat, but that one will have proper fire, not here. If it happens, as I said, it's not a promise. It's something that may happen or may not happen, depending on his progress. He comes back, but then there's the EAC summit in Arusha. How he's going to organize that? There's something that we don't see. But when I spoke to him, he looked very responsive. He felt sorry that he could not come here in person, but he looked, but I'll look into that. But he says the only problem he has with the summit in Arusha, they are talking about climate change, and then they are talking about some of these conflict situations in our endless conflict situations in our part of the world and the continent. But otherwise, I'm happy to have had the opportunity of being your patron. I'm enjoying the job.
We enjoy your role as well.
But you know, the point is, every job has to have timelines. It cannot be for life. So have a job description of how long can a patron stay, so that I know exactly at some point I'm going to exit. With those many words, thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Let's clap for Your Excellency again. A nice one. The fellows, mpe snap, mpe clap, mpe stamp. Good. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We appreciate your support.
It's assured.